Hey guys, and welcome to my channel, and this is my first ever video. So today, as you guys know, we're going to talk about the SDSU new student orientation. Basically what I'm going to talk about is stuff to bring, basically a rundown of like what we do at orientation, what like stuff you're given, and then I'll go more in depth about the classes, since I know that's like the most stressful thing that people are worried about with orientation. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about basically what you should bring. You should bring a laptop or iPad because that's how you'll enroll in and register for your classes. Bring snacks because the time from when we start all the way to lunch, all I ate was a granola bar and had some coffee in my stomach. Around like 10:30 it was growling. Bring a bag because you will be given like flyers and stuff, so you want something to be able to hold your laptop, iPad, and the papers that you'll get. Let's talk about actual orientation. So when you get to orientation, which starts around 8, I suggest getting there before 8 so that you can give yourself some time to walk from the parking structure all the way to the student union, which is like a good 5-10 minute walk. Also, you need to give yourself some time to check in, but when you do check in, you'll be given your SDSU card, and then you'll also be given this. Don't mind the ripped corner. There was our name tags on here, me and my parents, so if you did bring your parents, they do have their own name tag. So you get this, your SDSU card, and then also this baggie, this SDSU little backpack, which has a new student orientation folder that basically has some info sheets. Then also you get this pretty thick packet. Yeah, there's a lot in here. I haven't looked at it. I know my mom did, but I was like, that's too much. Once that's over, oh, I also forgot to mention, when you walk into the Montezuma Hall, they'll ask you your major and then tell you where to go. But then they also give you this paper that's basically the schedule of your day. If you did go with your parents, you will get separated from them for a little bit because they have a whole thing of like orientation thing for the parents. I don't know what happened. So 10:40, around the time I started getting hungry, we will meet up with the other colleges again inside one of the bigger lecture halls. That's where they actually start getting into your classes, like talking about what your class is and different sources, which I will go more into depth because honestly, during that presentation, I was zoning out the entire time because I was so tired and hungry. After that presentation, they just talk about being a responsible SDSU student. They'll dismiss you. It's lunchtime for about like an hour. It does get crowded. It's very crowded, and also there's an information fair. I would rather go to the information fair because then you could see a bunch of different clubs that you do plan on or wanted or interested in joining. So there's that. After lunch, you meet up with your ambassadors again, and then it gets to the stressful part, course registration prep. So they do a good job of helping you. Also, do keep in mind that there is so many students, and honestly the student to staff ratio is not good. You might not be able to get to them in time because honestly I only had 30 minutes. But if you don't know what classes to take, I actually don't know where I put the paper. So before you start actually picking which classes you want and putting them in your cart, they'll give you this. So on the back of it, and then here are some class examples that they recommend for you to take. But I'm just saying that it's not guaranteed that you will be able to do all of these, and especially because if you did pick a later orientation date, the harder it is to be able to find classes at times and days that you want it to. But later on I'll go more in depth about class picking. So at 3 is when it finally opens up for you to actually enroll into classes. So whatever you have in your cart, you select which ones you want and then press enroll and just hope for the best. It says from 3 to 3:30, around 3:30 when it should end. Told my parents that. I didn't get out till 4. And I did a lot of prep the night before about which classes I wanted, but it was just not in my best look. Even though the staff to student ratio is not that good, there are so many people willing to help you. So I didn't feel too stressed about it. I was stressed, but I didn't feel too stressed about my classes. I just have to figure out some things with scores and all that. Long story short, orientation is a bunch of meetings and classes. It does get boring during the presentations, and especially after lunch, everyone's super tired. So grab a snack. Also get as much rest as you can the night before. And try not to stress out. And what I'll be talking about next is more in depth about how to be prepared about your classes. On to the topic about classes. I hope this helps. Also, do keep in mind that the later your orientation, the less likely it is that you will get the classes you do want, because classes honestly do fill up quickly. And especially if your AP scores gave you credit for college and you're gonna have to take classes, or if you want to take classes at a higher level during your freshman year, a lot of those classes will be filled in, but that's because of like students who already are at SDSU and they have already picked their classes. Give yourself some time to prep beforehand, not the night before. Don't be like me. Give yourself maybe like a week to write down which classes you want, so that throughout the week you can check it and go through it, especially because classes over time throughout the month will get filled up. So it's not a guarantee that the initial class you write will be the one you get. You will also be given a short amount of time to actually prep for your classes. They do talk about it a lot, but to actually prep for it and like add classes to your shopping cart, you will barely get any time. First, let's talk about what the degree evaluation is. To specifically figure out what classes to take for your major, on your SDSU, there's a section called degree evaluation. So click on that and then load audit or something like that. So you'll click that, wait for it to load, and then it'll say view audit. It is basically a personalized like what you need to take for college in order to graduate within 4 years. And you could just scroll throughout it and figure out what you need to take throughout the years. What's great about this audit, it is personalized to you. You could also look on the catalog under roadmaps and then look for your major. It'll be basically what it says on the paper. Since you won't have access to this paper beforehand, be the computerized version of that chart. Once you figure out an idea of what classes to take based off the roadmap and your audit, you might be wondering like, oh, what are these different classes about? So then that's where you would go onto the catalog again, but instead of looking on the section where you would look for roadmaps, you would just search in the class. So an example would be Chem 200. So you look up Chem 200, wait for it to load, and then it should pop up right there. When you click on it, it'll give you the description, how many units, any prerequisites you need for the class, and how long the class is. And I would recommend writing down, so basically just write down any classes that interest you for those certain GEs or major prep classes. Also do keep in mind that it is recommended that you take 15 units worth of classes. Once you have that list out, go back to your SDSU and then you're going to click manage classes to actually add classes to your cart. Go to class search and enroll, and then you're going to pick the fall 2025 semester. You can be as broad as just only writing chem, and then there should be like a list of different classes that show up. So then once you click the course you want to take, click on it, and then it'll be another list again of the different classes that are available. It'll say open or possibly waitlist. Once you get to that point on your classes, each class will be different. What to notice that's different about each is the day and time the classes are, what room the class will be held in. It'll also tell you the teacher, also say how many seats are available. when you're picking your classes, really think about the seating or like what's available. One thing to also keep in mind, if you do end up having or picking classes that are back to back to back, for example, on a 9 a.m. class and then a 10 a.m. and then an 11 a.m., the time in between is about 10 minutes, which doesn't sound too bad, but keep in mind of where the room is. There is a website also on SDSU that tells you where these different rooms are. So just go on that website, Control F, look up the room, like P147, click it. I would suggest opening it on a new tab so that you could go back. But open that tab, scroll down, and then it'll show you a pinpoint on the map where that classroom is. It won't be exact, but just get a general idea of like which building it's in. And then you could also look up another class that's before or after that class and compare like the distance between it. But honestly, when you do end up picking or enrolling in your classes, and sometimes they won't let you and you have to pick another course, the last thing you want to think of is the room. You want to just be able to secure a spot in your class. Anyways, I will be linking all the sources down in the description to help you guys, because it took me a while to find these sources anyways by myself. So to wrap it all up, basically bring a laptop or iPad, bring a bag, bring snacks, think about the weather. Orientation is a lot of presentations, and then after lunch it will actually be a description of classes, and then you do get to pick your classes the day of. You get to enroll in your classes the day of your orientation. And then also give yourself about a week before your orientation starts to prep what classes you do want and what you do need to take, so that you aren't too stressed about being specific on what classes to take. If you have any questions, let me know. And I really hope that this was very helpful for you guys. Bye and have fun at orientation.